By now, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the Substack article from This Will Hold. You can Google it or you can go on TikTok and look it up and see people talk about it. It was from a former CIA whistleblower. And he said that there might have been some fuckery with the 2024 election. And I'm not going to read the whole article, but this was at the beginning of the article, and I think it is kind of laying out what you're about to read. In December 2024, I was personally involved in an NSA authorized forensic audit of the 2024 election. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz won by a wide margin. Trump lost dramatically. There are multiple layers of complexity to this cover up, including transnational organizational crime, syndicates that extend far beyond the United States and our elections. To that point, I work in the human trafficking sector, which intersects with the stolen elections, has ties to Trump and Epstein, not to President Biden, Vice President Harris, Governor Walz, but to the Democrats and other allied interests responsible for burying the audit. So I am not putting full stock, in that article, but I'm not denying it. Because if you read the article, like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole thing just because, again, it's a lot of stuff that is like over my head. So I'm letting things play out. So I'm not putting full stock on this, whatever, just because it's just a Substack article, and they said there's no breakdown of this, that, and the other. Well, again, it was an interview of what was said. But there seems to be online a split conversation, much like after the election leading up to January 6th of this year and then into January 20th. You're either in the blue and on Delulu crowd of something happened and we would like this investigated, or this is a nothing burger, blah, blah, blah. I've even heard theories that this person is a grifter. I have not seen any verification on that. Like everything I've seen says that this person was a former CIA agent, et cetera, et cetera. But people are just looking for some type of hope. Some type of hope. And I can't blame them on that. Ultimately, we could go through the whole kit and caboodle about what happened or what possibly happened or didn't happen. I would just say that I'm interested. I want to see this played out because it just seems so bizarre that he won all 7 swing states. Stuff that is mathematically impossible to happen happened. If you've not looked into any info from the ETA, the Election Truth Alliance, Smart Elections, I recommend I think they've done like 4 episodes on the Titus podcast. He talked to the main dude. In my opinion, something's there based on the data that he showed. But you got to get traction on a broader scale. There's the Rockland County case that's going to be happening in about a month. So we'll see what goes from there. Ultimately, this may lead to nothing. But if any of these varying things get traction, this could be big. But there's got to be somebody from up top in these various states got to open the door. And so far, that has not happened. If something were to come of this, it's not going to change the outcome because it's been certified. However, that is not the point. The midterms are next fall. And we want to make sure that when we go into the voting booth, that it is going to be free and fair. there's so many things that we could pinpoint of why the election happened the way it happened. I thought Kamala ran a pretty good campaign. Trump was bizarre, and somehow he won. Now, I am willing to concede that really it just came down to there wasn't enough people that came out to vote, and there were secular things that people liked Trump better on. I can't fully grasp that because, once again, he was voted in 2016 and he did such a great job, he was voted out in 2020. Now, I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. To me, this garners attention and this warrants a discussion. Because, yes, this could lead down to a bunch of different pathways that a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable with. I don't care. If we have that broken of a system, let's start the healing process. Because, like that thing said, there's stuff that the Democrats do not want to come out to. Don't care. Much like the Epstein files. I don't give a shit if it's left, right, and center people. If they're on that list, throw them in prison. In this case, if it's a collective effort from both sides, from their respective elections, they need to be held accountable. But ultimately, this is about going forward in making sure that we have free and fair elections. And if there were malfunctions or manipulations, allegedly, we would like that remedied and make sure that doesn't happen again, or at least there is a discernible effort to make sure it doesn't happen anytime soon. But ultimately, my biggest gripe with, I'm not saying you have to give any traction to this if you're not interested. That's fine. But the people that say, do you want to be like them? I ask you, why was the other side of the aisle allowed to do that? Yes, we made fun of them. Yes, we pointed and laughed. There was 60 plus court cases that went nowhere. But they got the White House. They got the House. They got the Senate. Why not just try? Why not just try? If you won fair and square, this goes away. We're saying the results are what the results are. But if something happened, we would like it remedied to make sure that this doesn't happen again. It's not that hard. But please go look at that article. It's very interesting. And if anybody has any info that verifies that, like, this dude's a grifter, so be it. Then, I'll go on about my business. But until then, I'm interested in this. But I still say that people need to look at the ETA. People need to look at smart elections because they have wild data of how those elections went. Because it doesn't add up. But regardless, I'm going to keep my eye on this. But remember, this is just to verify that the results are the results are what the results are, and to make sure that they were free and fair. Because if next year goes the way we think and the Democrats take the House at least, that could give us real change. But they're already starting to try to manipulate next year with the gerrymandering, going against voter registrations, voting rights, and all that. We have to start the fight now. We cannot let this continue.